Imagine for a second that it is 3 in the morning.
Okay, that's never a good time for anything to happen.
Right. So you are sound asleep, tucked in your bed, but a sharp, sudden noise outside just totally jolts you awake.
Oh, I hate that feeling. The worst.
It really is. So you drag yourself up, wipe the sleep from your eyes, and you peer out your bedroom window.
Mm-hmm.
And down on the street, bathed in that harsh, flickering glow of a streetlight, you see a crime in progress.
Oh, wow.
A violent one. Someone down there is actually screaming for help. Now, I want you to be brutally honest with yourself here. What is your very first instinct?
Right, like what does your brain actually tell you to do in that split second?
Exactly. Do you immediately throw open the window and yell to scare the attacker? Do you scramble for your phone and dial 911?
Or run down the stairs to intervene?
Yeah, or do you hesitate? Do you look around at all the other dark windows in your apartment complex and think, well, surely someone else is already calling the cops?
Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't get involved. I might just make it worse.
It is an incredibly uncomfortable question, isn't it?
It really is.
I mean, we all desperately want to cast ourselves as the hero of our own narrative. The person who springs into action without a second thought to save the day.
Totally. The action hero.
Right. But human psychology, which is what we are going to explore really deeply today, is rarely that straightforward. The gap between what we think we would do and what our brains actually compel us to do in a moment of panic is just vast.
And that very uncomfortable tension, that gap between our idealized selves and our actual instincts, that is basically the engine driving the source material for today's deep dive.
Yes, and it's such a good one.
It is so good. We are looking at excerpts from Freida McFadden's intensely gripping psychological thriller, The Housemaid's Secret.
Such a wild read.
Oh, absolutely wild. We have select pages from the text, and we're also looking at the incredibly ominous book cover. But we have a very specific mission for this deep dive.
We aren't just doing a plot summary here.
Exactly. No plot summaries. We are going to decode exactly how McFadden takes a very real, very heavily debated psychological theory, the bystander effect, and basically transforms it into the foundational architecture of her story.
Yeah, she builds the whole thing around it.
She really does. We are looking at how she uses this academic theory to establish character motives, to build this unbearable narrative tension, and ultimately to explore the terrifying reality of what hides behind seemingly flawless facades.
McFadden really delivers a masterclass here, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't just use the bystander effect as window dressing or like a neat piece of trivia.
Right.
She makes it deeply, uncomfortably personal for the protagonist.
Yeah.
And by extension, for you, the reader. She kind of forces you to examine your own social conditioning.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our story opens not in a creepy basement or a dark alley, but in a totally mundane, relatable setting.
A college lecture hall.
Yes, a college lecture hall. Our narrator, Millie, is sitting in Professor Kindred's psychology class, and Millie notes that the professor has this wild hair and paces the room looking at the students almost like he is accusing them of something terrible.
Such a great visual.
It really sets the mood. So he is teaching them about a foundational, infamous, historical event, the 1964 murder of a 28-year-old bartender named Kitty Genovese in Queens, New York.
Right, and for those who might need a quick refresher on this case, it is essentially the bedrock text for modern studies on the bystander effect.
The absolute classic example.
Exactly. As the professor in the book recounts to the class, Genovese was attacked at 3 in the morning outside her apartment building.
Just like our intro.
Just like the intro. And according to the long-held historical narrative that the professor presents, she screamed for help, and 38 witnesses in the surrounding apartments heard or saw the attack.
38 people.
38. But the attacker was able to leave, return 10 minutes later, fatally wound her, and steal $50. All because, allegedly, at least not a single one of those 38 people came to her aid, or even bothered to call the police.
Which is just so chilling. The professor calls it a textbook demonstration of diffusion of responsibility in a group. Right. And the way I always try to visualize this concept is by thinking about being in a massive company-wide group chat at work.
Oh, that's a really good analogy.
You probably know the feeling, right? Someone asks a relatively important question in the main channel, and there are like 50 people tagged.
Yep, I know exactly where this is going.
And you happen to know the answer.
Yeah.
But you look at the participant list and think, well, I'm in the middle of eating a sandwich. Jim from accounting is online. He will definitely answer this.
But Jim is looking at his screen thinking Sarah will do it.
Exactly. Jim thinks Sarah will do it. So nobody types anything. Complete silence. The responsibility is so watered down that it evaporates entirely. Except, obviously, in the scenario the professor is describing, the stakes aren't a lost spreadsheet. The stakes are a human life.
That group chat analogy perfectly captures the mechanism, though. It is a terrifying bit of subconscious social math.
Social math, yeah.
When you are the sole witness to an emergency, 100% of the responsibility to act falls on your shoulders. The psychological burden is absolute.
You can't pass the buck.
You really can't.
Oh.
But if there are 10 witnesses, your brain instantly calculates that your personal burden drops to 10%. If there are 38 witnesses, your responsibility feels statistically negligible.
Which is just wild to think about.
It is. The assumption that someone else will handle it isn't just a fleeting thought. It becomes a literal fatal paralysis. And what's fascinating here is how McFadden uses this historical tragedy to immediately map out Millie's internal landscape.
Right, because while the rest of the class is just mindlessly clacking away on their laptops, taking notes for the midterm, Millie is absolutely squirming in her seat.
She cannot handle it.
She really can't. She is vividly putting herself in that 1964 scenario. And she definitively states to herself that she wouldn't just watch. Interestingly, her very first thought is incredibly aggressive. She actually thinks about jumping right out the window to confront the attacker.
Which is an intense first reaction.
Super intense, but then she dials it back, noting to herself that she has learned to, quote, control herself better than that.
Which is a massive, blinking neon sign about her character.
A huge red flag about her past, for sure. But she concludes she would absolutely call 911 and she would go outside with a knife. Not to actually use it, she claims, but just to scare the guy off.
Right.
She confesses she has this deep itch to help people that frequently gets her into trouble.
And this internal monologue is so crucial because it defines her core nature. Millie is not just an empathetic person. She possesses a reckless, almost compulsive interventionist empathy.
She has to get involved.
She's as fundamentally incapable of being a passive bystander. Her brain just refuses to do that social math we were just talking about.
Yeah, the math doesn't work for her.
But McFadden doesn't just leave that personality trait sitting there in a vacuum. She immediately introduces a stark counterweight to Millie's worldview. And that arrives in the form of her boyfriend, Brock.
Oh, Brock. Let's talk about Brock.
Yes.
Because on paper, he is the absolute dream guy, right? Sure. Millie meets up with him right after this heavy, emotionally draining lecture. She's still visibly shaken by the thought of this poor woman dying half a century ago while people just watched.
She's really going through it.
Yeah, so she tells Brock what they were learning about. And Brock, who actually snaps his fingers in recognition of the case instantly, almost casually, distills the entire emotional weight of the tragedy.
He literally calls the lesson bullshit.
He does. He says it's bullshit.
His reaction reveals exactly how he processes the world. Brock doesn't engage with the horror of the lost life or the tragedy of the situation at all. He strictly engages with the factual accuracy of the historical narrative.
Right.
He points out, quite clinically, that the story was heavily sensationalized by the New York Times. He argues there were far fewer witnesses than 38, that the sightlines from the apartments were obscured so people thought it was just a drunken lover's quarrel.
Which is a huge detail.
It is. And he even points out that a neighbor actually did come down and cradle Genovese while waiting for the ambulance.
And, I mean, to be fair to Brock's facts, historians and journalists have corroborated that over the years. The original framing of the 38 totally apathetic witnesses was largely a media myth constructed to sell papers.
Very true.
But the factual accuracy is completely missing the point of the interaction. It is how Brock deploys that information that feels so jarring.
Exactly. The clinical deployment of those facts is the whole point of the scene. He is using data as a shield against empathy.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
He draws a stark ideological dividing line right down the middle of their relationship. Millie operates from a place of raw, instinctual feeling and a messy desire to intervene in the world.
She's all heart.
Yes. Brock, on the other hand, views the world through a lens of pragmatic, cynical detachment. He isn't bringing up those historical corrections to seek a deeper truth. He's bringing them up to shut down an uncomfortable emotional conversation.
Right. He just wants her to stop feeling so much.
Because raw emotion is uncontrollable. And as we quickly learn, Brock despises anything he cannot control.
He tells her, flat out, either way, you shouldn't feel bad about something that happened decades ago.
Just completely invalidating her.
Totally. And then he hits her with a line that actually sent a shiver down my spine while I was reading the excerpts. He looks at her and says, You're just a little too nice. you know?
Ugh, it's awful.
It reads as incredibly condescending, framing her core sense of empathy not as a virtue, but as a flaw, a weakness that he needs to manage.
It is a profound dismissal of who she actually is at her core. And it perfectly transitions us into looking closer at Brock himself and the deeply unsettling nature of their dynamic.
Yeah, because it gets weirder.
It gets so much weirder. Brock represents the uncanny valley of a perfect relationship. Everything about him and his life is curated to be rational, manicured, and flawless.
But flawless usually means fake, though, and the red flags are just flapping in the wind with this guy.
They really are.
Let's look at how he is described in the text. He has a highly lucrative job at a top law firm. He explicitly talks about wanting to buy the house in the suburbs with the white picket fence and invite 500 guests to their wedding.
A 500-person wedding.
Right. But nestled in that perfect image are these truly bizarre details. For one, his teeth.
Oh, the teeth.
Millie notes that he has the whitest teeth she has ever seen. She actually goes so far as to call them inhuman.
That is such a specific, weird word to use for your boyfriend.
Exactly. They are so white, they defy natural biology.
That physical detail of the inhumanly white teeth is a brilliant manifestation of his entire personality. It is a cosmetic veneer. From a distance, it looks dazzling and successful, but up close, it feels unnatural.
Unnatural, yeah.
Perhaps even predatory. And his rush to achieve this picture-perfect suburban life is driven by an equally unnatural, hyper-rational anxiety.
Because they are the same age, right? They're both young. But Brock is aggressively rushing her to settle down. And his reasoning is wild.
He really is.
He just had a cardiology visit and received a completely clean bill of health. His heart is perfect. But because he has been reading statistics about the expected lifespan of a Caucasian man in this country, he is paranoid that he is going to die before he can enjoy having children.
It's just bizarre.
He is perfectly healthy, but he is living his life inside a spreadsheet of actuarial tables.
Living in an actuarial table that captures it perfectly. It is not about health. It is about a profound phobia of uncertainty.
He needs the guarantees.
Exactly. He is terrified of mortality, of messiness, of anything that deviates from a predictable statistical norm. So he tries to lock his life down into a rigid plan. And by extension, he is attempting to lock Millie down to play a specific role in that plan.
I am struggling to see him as this flawless catch, though, despite Millie constantly trying to convince herself that he is a great guy.
She tries so hard to believe it.
She really does. If we look at the actual physical cues McFadden gives us in these few pages, it paints a very different picture. When she first gets out of the lecture hall, she is distracted by her thoughts and almost walks past him on the street.
Right.
What does he do? He chases her down and grabs her arm to stop her.
Hey.
Later, he physically pulls her into a crosswalk when the light is flashing red.
Just physically moving her around.
Yeah, he is directing her physical movements under the guise of protection. And that need for control bleeds right into how he communicates his feelings.
The confession scene is arguably the most revealing moment of their dynamic.
So he stops her on the street, takes both her hands, stares deeply into her eyes, and says, "Actually, I kind of love you."
The inclusion of that qualifier is just staggering.
Kind of. Who says that to someone they are planning a 500-person wedding with?
Nobody normal.
Right. And Millie's reaction is the most telling part. She notes her heart speeds up. But before she can even formulate a response, she gets this distinct prickling sensation on the back of her neck.
Her body knows.
She literally asks herself internally, why do I feel like somebody's watching me? Am I losing my mind? Think about how you would feel in Millie's shoes here. When your partner says they love you, even with a weird, hesitant modifier, you are supposed to feel warmth.
You're supposed to feel good.
You are supposed to feel butterflies. You aren't supposed to feel like prey being stalked in the woods.
What McFadden is describing there is a textbook visceral threat response. The human brain has two very different processing centers for this kind of information.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So our conscious minds, our prefrontal cortex, is highly skilled at rationalizing bad situations, especially when the situation looks socially desirable.
Like having a rich, handsome lawyer boyfriend.
Exactly. Brock is a handsome, successful lawyer who wants to build a life with her. The prefrontal cortex says, this is great, you should be happy. But our bodies, specifically the amygdala, process threats and micro-expressions milliseconds before our conscious brain can spin a narrative to explain them away.
Milliseconds, wow.
Yeah. That prickling sensation on her neck is her amygdala screaming at her, is picking up on his physical dominance, his controlling micro-movements, his qualified affection.
That makes so much sense.
The tension here does not come from an axe-wielding maniac hiding in a closet. It comes from the suffocating pressure of a partner's projected perfection.
And the toll that pressure takes on Millie is immense. She is buckling under the burden of hiding who she really is. I mean, she hasn't even told him that she hates sushi because she doesn't want to ruin his perfect date night.
Which is such a sad little detail.
It is, let alone her complicated past that she briefly alludes to. When Brock brings up that his parents want to meet her and mentions that he calls them every Sunday at 8 p.m. sharp to give them the pertinent details of his perfect life, Millie's internal reaction is sheer panic.
She literally wants to be sick.
She thinks, okay, now I'm going to throw up. She is physically ill at the idea of deepening this charade.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, she is experiencing the severe psychological cost of cognitive dissonance. Playing a role that contradicts your true nature is exhausting.
I can only imagine.
It is like deep-sea diving without depressurizing. Every time she smiles through a sushi dinner, every time she nods along to his clinical worldview, she dives a little deeper into the lie.
Oh, that's a brilliant way to phrase it.
And the longer she stays down there playing this perfect role, the more pressure builds up in her system. The nausea and the paranoia are symptoms of her body desperately trying to reject the environment.
Right, her body is literally rejecting the lie.
Exactly. She mentions her last boyfriend knew everything about her from the start, meaning she never had to do this terrifying reveal of her true self. With Brock, every day she maintains the illusion. The pressure differential grows, making the eventual trip back to the truth incredibly dangerous.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. That feeling of being suffocated, of being trapped in a perfect situation that is full of hidden truths. It serves as a direct, terrifying mirror to the literal setting she is about to enter for her new job.
The parallels are so good.
They are. So Millie lands a gig working for a man named Douglas Garrick. He is the CEO of a massively successful tech company called Coinstock. And surprisingly, Brock actually knows him.
Of course he does.
Of course. Brock's law firm helped Garrick secure a patent, and Brock vouches for him, assuring Millie that Garrick is a, quote, genuinely nice guy.
Considering our detailed analysis of Brock's judgment and his clinical worldview, his endorsement of Garrick should immediately sound a massive alarm bell for the listener.
Oh, absolutely. So Garrick is paying Millie an astronomical hourly rate to work in his breathtaking multi-million-dollar penthouse. When Millie describes the location and the skyline view to Brock, he estimates the real estate alone must have cost at least $20 million.
$20 million? That's absurd.
Completely absurd. When Garrick told Millie her hourly rate, she freely admits she saw cartoon dollar signs popping up in her eyeballs. It is a stunning, overwhelming display of wealth.
But just like Brock's inhumanly white teeth, the staggering wealth of the Garrick penthouse functions as a cosmetic veneer.
A distraction.
Exactly. It is designed to dazzle you, to blind you to whatever rot lies underneath. The money is a deliberate distraction. Yet Millie, despite the dollar signs clouding her vision, is already subconsciously picking up on that rot.
Because there is a massive looming catch to this dream job. When she went to the penthouse for the interview, Mrs. Garrick, the wife she's supposedly going to be working around, never even came out of her room to meet her.
So weird.
Super weird. And then there's the architecture of the second floor. Millie explicitly mentions a closed door on the upper level that fills her with a deep, inexplicable unease.
Her amygdala is firing again.
Totally. She stands in this $20 million apartment and says to herself, as excited as I am about this job, something about that makes me uneasy.
This raises an important question, and it brilliantly brings the entire narrative architecture all the way back to that psychology lecture at the very beginning of the text.
Full circle.
Everything we've discussed, the diffusion of responsibility, the burden of hiding, the physical intuition of threat, is converging on this single closed door in a penthouse.
So let's tie all those threads together. Remember Millie's ex-boyfriend, the one who actually knew her dark past and accepted her.
Yeah, the one she didn't have to hide from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Millie mentions in passing that he was the one who strongly convinced her to pursue social work. And his reasoning is fascinating. He wanted her to become a social worker so she could help people in need while staying within the confines of the law.
Within the confines of the law?
Yeah. He told her, "You need to help everyone, Millie. It is what I love about you." But then she drops this devastating little caveat. She says, "Unfortunately, he's not around anymore."
That phrase, within the confines of the law, is incredibly loaded.
It really is.
It implies that without his grounding influence, her compulsive itch to help might not stay legal. It suggests she has a history of transgressive, perhaps even dangerous intervention when she sees someone in trouble.
And now, picture the actual book cover we have in our source materials. It is dominated by this stark, blood-red wood texture. Right in the center is a brass keyhole. And looking out from inside the dark keyhole is a single, striking blue eye belonging to a terrified woman.
Such a striking image.
And the tagline across the top reads, "This perfect home has one rule. Don't look behind closed doors."
That door represents the ultimate high-stakes test of the bystander effect. Earlier, we talked about how being in a group diffuses responsibility. But extreme wealth creates a totally different kind of psychological barrier that causes the exact same paralysis.
Because it's intimidating.
Exactly. The sheer wealth of the Garrick penthouse acts as an intimidating shield. Much like how Brock uses statistics to shut down emotional scrutiny, extreme wealth shuts down social scrutiny.
Oh, that is so true.
When people see a CEO in a $20 million penthouse, their brain assumes a level of legitimacy. They think, well, they are rich, they are successful, they have lawyers and doormen, everything must be fine.
They must know what they are doing.
Right. If something was wrong, an authority figure would handle it. It's none of my business.
I'm just here to clean. I'm just here to collect my massive paycheck. I shouldn't rock the boat. That is exactly the logic the bystander effect relies on. It convinces you that inaction is the safest, most logical choice.
So the narrative question becomes, what will Millie do? Will she take the Brock approach to life? Will she accept the superficial facts, the high pay, the nice guy CEO persona that Brock vouched for and clinically distance herself from her own unease?
Will she diffuse the responsibility?
Right. Will she diffuse responsibility and just walk past that closed door on the second floor every single day? Or will her instinctual, reckless empathy take over?
The itch to help.
Will she be the one who refuses to be a bystander, even if investigating that door means destroying her own safe, highly lucrative situation?
Knowing that she literally sits in a college lecture daydreaming about grabbing a knife to confront a hypothetical attacker in the street, I mean, I highly doubt she's going to be able to leave that door alone.
No chance.
It is such a brilliantly constructed setup. We have journeyed from a sterile academic discussion about a 1964 crime to the quiet, suffocating red flags of a relationship that demands you bury your true self, straight into a high-stakes thriller where ignoring your instincts could prove fatal.
It really is masterful.
McFadden takes the abstract concept of diffusion of responsibility and turns it into a ticking time bomb inside a luxury apartment.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Beyond just enjoying a well-crafted thriller, it serves as a powerful reminder about the biological reality of intuition.
Which we ignore way too often.
We do. We are so often socially conditioned, much like Millie is conditioned by Brock, to ignore our gut feelings in favor of what looks correct or successful on paper.
Yeah, checking the boxes.
But when a situation, whether it is a new romantic partner with a flawless resume but a strange, controlling vibe, or a new workplace with an amazing salary but an unspoken culture of intense secrecy, when that situation gives you that prickling sensation on the back of your neck, you need to pay attention.
Listen to the amygdala.
Listen to it. Your intuition is a highly evolved, ancient data processing system. It is usually picking up on the micro expressions, the subtle inconsistencies, and the hidden dangers that your conscious, rationalizing mind is trying desperately to ignore so you can fit in. Trust the prickle on the back of your neck.
It is so easy to sit back comfortably and judge those hypothetical neighbors in 1964, isn't it? We listen to the professor's story and think, how could you just watch? How could you just pull the blinds and do nothing?
It's very easy to be brave in hindsight.
Exactly, from the safety of a classroom. But I want to leave you with this final thought to mull over. If we are truly honest with ourselves, how many metaphorical closed doors do we walk past in our own lives? How many times do we sense that something is deeply, fundamentally wrong in our relationships, in our extended families, or in our workplaces, but we choose to look away simply because it is safer, quieter, and so much easier to pretend we didn't notice what was hiding behind them?
That is a chilling question to end on. Until next time, keep your eyes open.